Title: Most candidates running on crime don't have much power to solve it. Content: This may seem counterintuitive to voters. Broad crime trends are often national in scale. That was the case when crime plummeted across the country starting in the 1990s, and when gun violence surged just about everywhere during the pandemic. But it doesn't follow that the answers are primarily federal ones. We have a national problem that isn't solved at the national level, said Philip Atibagoff, a Yale professor and co-founder of the Center for Policing Equity. But our national narrative makes it harder to solve it at the local level, which is the only level where it's going to get solved. The federal government does play an important role. It funnels money to states and local governments, and often uses that money to incentivize local police to shift policies. Major components of the 1994 crime bill, for example, dedicated federal money to hire local police officers, fund victim services and construct state prisons. The federal government has also sent military-grade equipment to local police, although research suggests that has done little to reduce crime. In its other roles, the federal government offers technical assistance to local agencies and supports research on which policing strategies work. And it has a bully pulpit. President Biden signed an executive order in May directing federal law enforcement to restrict tactics like chokeholds and no-knock warrants. While the order has a limited reach, it could still nudge cultural changes among local departments. And individual senators and members of Congress can use their own megaphones to push policing priorities to local officials. As a whole, Congress could play a bigger role but often chooses not to. One of the reasons that we talk about the federal government having so little authority is not just because it can't do a lot of things, but also because it won't do certain things, said Thomas Abete, a senior fellow at the Council on Criminal Justice, a nonpartisan think tank, and chair of the Violent Crime Working Group. The single biggest thing that the federal government could do to limit violent crime in particular would be to pass reasonable regulations that limit access to deadly firearms. Relaxed gun laws at the federal and state level have allowed more guns on the street and made the problem of local violent crime worse, said Darrell Stevens, a retired chief of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, and former longtime head of the Major Cities Chiefs Association. This article is from, written by Emily Badger.